You're listening to Moviesucktastic.
Sounds like some bad movie.
All right, we're going to talk about Dreamscape now.
Yep.
All right.
Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Bring me a stick man!
This is a 1984. This is kind of like a forgotten film from the 80s. Okay?
Yeah, well, I think half the films that came out in the 80s have been forgotten.
I think so. And I'm kind of surprised that there isn't even... And maybe now with the success of Inception, they might go back and remake something like Dreamscape.
I think Inception was a remake in some ways.
A definite improvement, I will say that.
I think...
You know, Inception isn't as original as people like to think it is. Yes, they bring a lot to the table with originality with the film, but as far as the idea of going into someone's dreams, totally been done before.
Now let me broach this subject.
Well, you know, to just get on Dreamscape, I saw that when I was a kid, and
I think I was 12.
I was like maybe 10 years old.
84.
No, 84. I was 8 years old.
I was 12.
I saw it. Yeah, you weren't 12. You were maybe 11.
70. I was born in 73.
Okay.
So I was 11. Or by the time I came on cable, I was 12. I saw it on cable. I didn't see it in the theater.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. How old were you?
73, 83, 84, maybe 11.
11.
Came out in 82, right?
84.
Came out in 84.
Yeah.
I would be 12. 73, 83, 84, 85, 84, 85. If we had cable 85, it'd be 12.
I was 8 years old then.
Okay.
Okay, there we go.
Don't question my math, sir.
All right. Hey. Anyway, go ahead. Finish your point.
Oh, when Dreamscape came out,
right?
2 years later, Nightmare on Elm Street came out.
Nightmare on Elm Street came out the same year.
3 months later. 3 months later.
Yeah.
Sorry. 3 months later, it came out. According to the writer, he had written the film back in 81.
Okay.
So it was in pre-production for a little while. I contend that Wes Craven
ripped off
might be completely full of shit when he says, I read an article about a child dying in his sleep, and I thought, wow, what if that was a killer in his dreams and it killed him? And instead it was, yeah, I heard about this film. I think we do a horror film based on this.
He just totally ripped off Dreamscape. But like the idea and the concept.
No, but here's the deal.
I can see that fucking hack doing that.
Now, Nightmare on Elm Street was a good film, but here's what I'm not criticizing.
Okay.
But merely pointing out. A lot of flack was given about James Cameron ripping off like Pocahontas or Ferngully because he really took like the structure of an entire screenplay and transferred it into his own. Okay?
Okay.
What we have here is someone taking a concept. Let's say Wes Craven did get the idea from the Dreamscape. Maybe he heard it was happening because I guarantee Dreamscape might have had more of a pre-production than a small horror film at the time.
Okay.
He took a concept, took it from a different angle and made it his own. Inception. He apparently Nolan had the idea 8 years ago.
Yeah, that's what I've been reading.
They approved it 8 years ago, but instead of doing it then, he wrote the screenplay over the past 8 years and did it now. So
I did read that.
Whatever, how much bullshit that is, and how much it is just like wishful thinking.
I wouldn't be surprised if he wrote it 8 years ago and it's been sitting on the back burner.
Well, like the story is, they said he could do it, but he said, but he thought instead of writing it as a project, I want to write it as a spec script and give it some more attention. And it took him 8 years. That might be bullshit. It might just be, yeah, they said no, but then after Dark Knight they said, yeah, go ahead. But they don't want to make it sound like that.
Yeah,
that's why there's a lot of this like the fairy tale of like when I was 12 I wrote this screenplay and I've been writing it ever since. Instead of like I needed something to do and I came up with this idea for what I had when I was a kid. They romanticize the industry. Ignore that.
Okay.
I don't think it's possible that Nolan, who's got to be rough, in our age group, a little bit.
He's born in 70. So
yes, he's in our age group.
Yeah.
He saw Dreamscape as a kid.
Yeah.
There's no way he did not see Dreamscape, and there's no way that was
he was a little older than us, maybe teenager, 14,
right.
something like that.
There was no way that that was not instrumental in his idea for Inception. But he's not ripping it off. He's taking a concept and he made something new out of it.
Yeah.
If that happened with Nightmare on Elm Street, same thing. So I don't criticize that.
Okay.
But I think it's worth noting that Wes Craven might be full of shit on that.
And I would tend to believe that.
Yeah.
I really would. So, your general consensus of Dreamscape.
Well, give the a little synopsis there, a little pocket synopsis of the film.
Well, of Dreamscape?
Yes.
Well, basically, it's...
Is this a little sleeper thing from the 80s?
Well, you got to remember, you just recently saw it. I haven't seen it for about 3 or 4 years.
I'll fill in. You go ahead,
but,
sir. I want to see how good your memory is.
If I'm not mistaken, Dennis Quaid is brought in to do these experiments.
Yes, Dennis Quaid is your bad boy psychic. He's betting on horse races. He's using his powers for ill-gotten goods, which any psychic will tell you, or which any psychic is obviously full of shit in the first place because they're not psychic. But any psychic will tell you that you're not supposed to do that because you might have it taken away. But Dennis Quaid knows the deal. So he's got a swank apartment. He's making money betting on the horses.
So they bring him in for his talents to use this new technology that they've invented to go into people's dreams and to kind of see what's going on in there. And it basically what happens is he and this other character in the film, who is like the bad guy, who was like supposed to be the best. He's basically Dennis Quaid's competition.
Now, and that is that actor?
I can't remember his name.
That's the guy from the Warriors.
Yeah, right. And he was also in The Crow.
David Patrick Kelly.
That's right.
Warriors, come out and play.
With the bottles.
He is never not creepy.
No, he's never disappointed on the creepy factor.
No, he's always good in the film and he's always unsettling.
And you ever see him in interviews? He's like the calmest, most serene guy. He's like, yeah, when I did that movie, it was great. I loved working with the director. He doesn't like snap. He's like, fuck you! Yeah. It's like, he doesn't... he's a completely normal guy.
And then I watched him bleed out on the floor.
And it was so moving. It's like, wow.
No, but Dennis Quaid is brought in by Max von Sydow.
Right.
And Kate Capshaw.
That's right.
His sex pot sidekick.
Relationship with.
And they're running this whole program where they're trying to get psychics to go into people's dreams.
Right. And
Dennis Quaid hops on board and helps out this little kid in a wheelchair who's having bad dreams about a snake man.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the scene everyone remembers.
Yep.
If you watch this film as a kid and you don't know what we're talking about,
and this is a movie that's rated PG-13.
It was the second film to ever be rated PG-13.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like, ooh, this is really harping on an R because it's definitely a lot more graphic.
They trimmed down the sex scene between Kate Capshaw and Dennis Quaid. More on that later.
Oh.
But if you're listening now and you didn't know what film we were talking about, the minute I said Snake Man in the dream, you now know what I'm talking about. That's the one thing everyone remembers is the Snake Man. And but then they find out that Christopher Plummer is this like CIA spook guy, and they're actually using this to make psychic warriors.
Right.
So the whole subplot that comes around full circle is that the president's been having these horrible dreams about post-nuclear devastation, and he's been having these nightmares about this. So he's actually thinking of disarming with other nations.
Oh wow!
And the government doesn't like that. Now this is now the idea of psychics using technology to go into dreams.
Right.
I fully buy. A president with a conscience, you're treading thin ground here. This is where I'm not that big. I don't care if it is Eddie Albert playing the president.
Right. It's just.
And that's the basic plot of that. Very interesting. The opening scene of the film is his dead wife in a dream running towards him, and then a nuclear cloud takes her out. In the background on the right hand side, the Twin Towers.
Oh, really?
Yes, there's a little post 9/11. Oh, look!
Hey, look at that!
You know what's funny is that happens now. Every time it happens, it's like 50% joy and 50% sadness.
Sure.
Everyone's like you're immediately thrilled that you see them, and they're like, no, and then you remember why you're thrilled, and you feel guilty for saying, oh look, yeah.
And I kind of not to get political or anything, but they have this whole thing at Ground Zero about rebuilding them, and they want to make them. They want new buildings. It's like just build them the way they were. Put the exact skyline back the way it was. It there was nothing wrong with it. They're afraid to do it because they're afraid it to become a target. But I think if you build anything there, no matter what you build, it'll be a target. Just make them the way they were, but better.
I don't care.
Nah, I'm very...
Sir, let's not bring politics into the show.
No, I know, but I have a very soft spot for New York City, and I would just love it to just the skyline to look exactly the way it did.
But anyway, the creepy David Patrick Kelly character is actually this patricidal sociopath, and the Christopher Plummer's been molding him into a dream assassin.
Yep.
And so the big climax at the end is when
Dennis
Quaid goes to save the president from this assassin in his own dream. And it's a lot of the film that I would compare this to, and actually they do an audio commentary too.
Oh, do
I thought it was funny because I was thinking about it. I would remember Dreamscape. No, I mean Dream. The one with Christopher Walken. I just watched recently.
Oh,
Minds.
No. That was
Mindscape, wasn't it?
Was it Mindscape?
I'll look it up right now.
Yeah, you look it up real quick.
But it reminded me of that because because they would go into people's memories and minds, and when they did that, they would go like this weird ratio cinemascope. It was a new concept they were using.
Oh, okay.
And so whenever they went to
it was to make you feel like something was different.
Right. So, but the thing is, when you were watching if you watch the film on TV now, on the DVD, when they go into
that special
the memories
scope
thing, you're watching it in a normal scope
frame,
and then it goes like real widescreen all of a sudden. It's like wow, and it's kind of like a wide.
So does it work? Because I haven't actually seen it.
It's really interesting. It works, and it might have worked better in some ways, but it really separates the two.
Okay.
So you watch this now where they go into dream sequences, and the problem is,
was it brainwaves?
Brainwaves, yes, it was brainwaves. Thank you.
Okay.
I don't have to look it up.
Okay.
I'm trying to spell Christopher Walken on this while I'm talking. So they mentioned that too. Oh, it's like brainwaves. I'm thinking, no, it's not, because that brainwaves was good, and flawed but good. But like the dream sequences in Dreamscape, you have the famous Snake Man one, which has all these really weird angular house, very like Dr. Caligari type stuff. The rickety staircase, and you have the Snake Man, and it's really played for effect. A lot of claymation going on. Other than that sequence and the post-apocalyptic nuclear devastation wasteland end scene, which is kind of cool. There's such a bit more involved, and they have like these backdrops, and and there's a really cool scene with radioactive commuters on a subway train.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
But the other dreams they have them going into are just like really dull, and they make them look like dreams by putting Vaseline on the lens or using a fisheye lens or slow motion. Oh, geez. Wow! And like the first time he goes into a scene is like, oh, this guy's a steel worker. You're gonna go into his dream. So guess what he's doing in his dream?
He's cheating on his wife.
He's still working.
Oh, that's right. The other one was just cheating on the wife was cheating on the husband.
Yeah. So like, wow.
Which was a full frontal shot, which I was like, wow, this is PG-13 when I was a kid. I remember.
And it's not a full frontal shot.
Sure it is.
No, it's not.
Her breasts are totally bare in that scene.
I don't believe so.
Oh, I believe so. I remember seeing it. Unless they showed a more unrated version when I was a kid.
From what I've heard, there were different versions shown.
Because it's kind of like just get off topic a slight bit, the Wraith with Charlie Sheen.
Yes.
I have a version that wasn't released here in the States, and oh my god, the amount of nudity in this version that I have. I don't remember that version playing on Cinemax, because that was like the only channel that I
From what I read,
saw it on.
They cut some of the sex scene with Kate Capshaw down for the PG-13 rating.
Right.
Or they beefed it up or something like that. So like the theatrical version had more skin.
Really?
And the first videotape release had more skin, but supposedly the DVD has less skin. Which might be why I didn't see it. I specifically
remember as a kid the scene where they go in.
So you might be right, because I have the DVD.
Where the wife is cheating on her husband.
Right.
And Dennis Quaid goes in. I specifically remember the room being lit up red.
Yes.
And her being completely topless, straddling a guy.
When I saw it, she has something with a sheet, so maybe that's true. Maybe the version I have is a bit more softcore.
Maybe the version that you saw was the sheets there.
That's what I'm saying.
But the one I saw is she's bare, and then the sheet goes up.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Okay. Maybe the one I have was soft.
Oh, that would really suck.
Yeah, it would.
It really would.
Because really, there's nothing else to recommend this film, dude. This is one of those films where I saw it when I was 12. So this week I was like, I'm psyched. Yeah, I bought it when it came out.
Right.
And I still haven't watched it. I haven't watched this for 20 years. Or I got to go back and watch this. Sure. And I'm watching it and like, oh God, this is bad. I said, wow, this is really bad. And there's really no Dennis Quaid and Kate Capshaw. There's no. They spent half the film doing this kind of like romantic thing between them, and there's nothing there.
Oh yeah,
I mean, he and the Snake Man had more chemistry, and there's just nothing going on. And I watched it again with the audio commentary. This is really sad. It's the writer, the director, and producer, I think.
Okay.
And every now and then during the audio commentary, they'd go, "Oh wait! Here's a funny line. Here's a great line," and they'd be quiet, and the line would come up, and it wasn't funny.
It wasn't funny.
It wasn't, or it was kind of like. It was like nothing.
But they hadn't seen it in 26 years either.
And then it was like, oh, that was a big laugh in the theaters. Yeah, that was a kill line. I was like, no, there was nothing funny about that.
Maybe back in the 80s when you threw out shit like this and people were mesmerized by it, maybe it was.
I remember loving the film as a kid, but again, I love the Snake Man thing.
Right.
But I mean,
I remember.
There's a scene after he seduces her in her dream, and by the way, Dennis Quaid at this point in time, they had him like a scene where he's in his boxer briefs, so they're showing off like the cut body,
right?
But then he does this dream sequence with Kate Capshaw where he seduces her on a train, and he's got the long like the pirate shirt with the shirt open. And Dennis Quaid, I'm sorry, you're a handsome man, but you don't have enough chest hair to pull that off. It was just a tuft of chest hair, so it looked. If there was no chest hair, it would have been fine. But he had like this little tuft, and then the shirt open is like, wow, like the light's bouncing off your chest. No, this is not working. If I was Kate Capshaw, I'd be laughing right now. No, move on. But I lost my train of thought with that.
I don't remember where you were going with it either.
But then after he seduces her, there's a scene where they're arguing in the stairwell, and then, again, like they're watching an audio commentary, like, oh wait, here's a great line, here's a great moment. And they go, and I was like, what moment? It was just more dialogue. It's like there's dialogue.
Yeah, maybe they hadn't seen it. Maybe that was the first time they were seeing it in a long time. They were just going totally on memory.
But it was I felt bad because like the guy that wrote the screenplay is like, oh, and this was good, and this was good. I'm like, no, it really wasn't. I feel bad, because it's not because they were really nice on the audio commentary too. They weren't sure. It wasn't like listen to Heather's audio commentary where you just hate all of them by the end.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you're all idiots, and this film was a success despite your being morons. But that's why it's the pain of listening to audio commentary sometimes.
Yeah. I haven't actually listened to one in a bit. I should really go back and start listening to more.
I'm getting back into that habit. Whenever I write anything now, I listen to audio commentary as part of my research.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I really need to get back. So are we done with Dreamscape?
Well, do you remember anything else about it you want to mention? I mean, there's
not really. I mean, I just remember really enjoying it when I was a kid. I remember watching it on Cinemax. It was like on repeat on Cinemax.
Yeah. It was always and here's the thing. The big thing was the Snake Man, right?
Yeah.
But I go back and watch it now. And the special effects weren't that special.
Oh, the stop motion was terrible.
Stop motion is terrible. Like Ray Harryhausen would have slapped whoever did it.
Yeah.
And then whenever they came in for the close-up, it was just really bad. It was like a prosthetic head, but there was no movement at all except the mouth would open. So like there's a scene at the end where it bites Dennis Quaid, and like the head like leans in it. You could almost see in your mind the two guys on a stick underneath going, man, and like that, and the mouth moves like it's a pincer, like you can just see the one wire control, and it bites his shoulder, and it was just really bad.
Yeah,
it's like what? There's just, and then I think they had two snake heads too, and then like oh
yeah, I really have nothing to add other than the fact that I enjoyed it when I was a kid. It's a really bad movie.
I got one more thing to add, too. I'm going to be quiet for a bit while you talk about Inception then, because I'm getting a headache from talking so much.
Okay.
The whole idea, there's like this man, like Max von Sydow, who, by the way, rocks. All hail Ming.
He's always delivered a good performance, too.
That's the great thing. It's Sydow and Plummer.
And he's kind of looked the same for the last 30 years.
Yeah, he's always been old.
Yeah, it's really.
But Max von Sydow and Christopher Plummer, two excellent actors.
Right. They're
in these scenes where there's no tension. Like the script supposedly has tension, and the story there's nothing there. These two guys, just by their presence, lend some tension to it.
Wow!
Like just the acting alone between these two guys. Like if you listen to the words, there's nothing, but you watch them as actors, and it's all there.
Maybe they just genuinely didn't like each other.
I think so.
Maybe it's just natural.
I mentioned Max von Sydow and someone. I think it was Chris Wallner online. He mentioned Strange Brew.
Oh, God.
I could crush your head like a nut, but I won't because I need you. Yeah, Yes!
I just saw Strange Brew not that long ago.
I got to go back and watch it now because he mentioned that. I forgot about him in that. But the one thing that got me was this film came out about 3 or 4 years after The Fury.
Oh, Kirk Douglas.
Yes.
Yeah, and Amy Irving.
And Firestarter.
Now, you know what? Oh, man. It's funny you should mention that because I wanted to talk about that in a future podcast.
And Firestarter, well, then, I haven't watched in ages, so I'll put that on my list to watch then.
Yeah.
But The Fury came out like a few years before this. I think it was like 70-something?
81, I believe.
Was it 81?
I'm pretty sure it was 80 or 81.
Firestarter came out 3 months before it, which again...
Yeah.
All right. The screenplay was around 81, but why are we making it now? Maybe because psychics are coming back in style.
Right.
And so, like, Sadao sells Quaid as he's the most powerful psychic I know when they show him moving on marble with his mind. He's supposed to have telekinetic powers. He can do this. He can read minds. Throughout the entire film, besides winning a horse race, I'm not sure how he did that with his psychic powers. Because they don't say he can see the future. Right. So I'm not sure how, if he can telekinetically move a marble across the table, I don't know how he's getting a horse to win the race. They don't really explain that.
Yeah, okay.
Besides that, and reading Kate Capshaw's mind once by telling her, I know you're, yes, I am attracted to you. That's what you're asking me. When he's reading, besides those two moments, he doesn't do anything psychic besides go in people's dreams. He's running around like, I don't know what's going on here. Why does this? He's got to go to George Wendt from Cheers.
Yeah,
he has to go to meet him at a bar to find out what's going on with the psychic researcher and Christopher Plummer. When he's psychic, he met Christopher Plummer. He should be like, I read your mind. I knew what you're doing. He's the worst psychic ever. John Edwards would have kicked ass in this film.
Oh, shit.
If you put John Edwards in this film, yeah, he can't read. He'd be asking Christopher Plummer, hey, didn't you have a mother with began with a Q? And didn't you? What was your favorite color? I remember something about a dryer.
Blue. I think it was blue.
Yeah, he would have cracked the case on that. Quaid's running around. He's supposed to be a psychic. I mean, you got Firestarter came out 3 months ago.
Right.
10-year-old girl's blowing the shit out of people. You got her father. I forget the actor's name. He's like making his nose bleeding while he's making people think what he wants to think.
That was what's his face?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
And he's like
I can't remember right now.
He's making people do what he wants to do with his mind. His nose is bleeding from it. He's like clouding people's minds.
David Keith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quaid can't fucking. Yeah, Quaid's like diving out of phone booths and like riding dirt bikes across roads. You're psychic. You're supposed to
know the future.
At one point, you should like pull like a Darth Vader on Plumber at the end. It's like, you're waiting for the one moment where like the security guard sees him and he goes, "I'm not here." He's like, "You're not here." He like walks on. It's like nothing. It's like they forgot about the psychic part. As soon as they said that he was a psychic,
right?
They're like, "Okay, well, we don't need that anymore. We can move on to the dream stuff." Why did you even mention it? That's the biggest letdown. Movie. I mean, the Jamaican lady, the psychic hotline chick, the Jamaican lady.
Oh, right.
She could have rocked this. She would have solved this case in half an hour.
Call me now.
And she still would have seduced Kate Capshaw.
Probably.
I bet she looks damn better in the pirate shirt.
You know what? I would tend to
I have your number right here.
Call me now.
Call me now. I will solve it.
All right.
Call me now, Mr. President. I'm trying to kill you.
Are we done with Dreamscape?
I think so.
Okay, good.
But I mean, it really depresses me because, like I said, 12 years old, I love the film. I'm watching it now. I was like, my God, this is horrible. What was wrong with me? Yeah. And how did this even capture my attention? Like, about one scene, the one Snake Man scene.
Right.
And, like, that's it. As a kid, you're back at that film over and over again to watch that one scene.
Sure. Like you said, it's the most memorable scene in the movie.
There's one good line of the film, though.
Which is?
And it belongs to David Patrick Kelly.
Okay.
Is when Christopher Plummer sees me, he's having trouble sleeping. He says, do you need drugs? You want any drugs? Like, nah, I'm messed up enough as it is. And it even made me think, it's like, please tell me he ad-libbed that, because I can't imagine the same writer that like the rest of this nonsense.
Right, actually came up with something that good.
Oh, that's right. Max von Sydow actually says, like, they're talking about the guy with having the dream where his wife's cheating on him. It's like, well, what's basically happening is Max von Sydow says he thinks people are stooping his wife. And the audio commentary, they're like, oh, that was so great to get Max von Sydow to say that. That was like, no, it wasn't. No, that wasn't as big of a sell as you think. I don't know the fact Max von Sydow saying stooping is not a laugh. It's not a high point in the scene. No. That's not.
If he swore to never say the word stooping and you got him to say it, then maybe. But everyone would have to know that beforehand. So you're right.
If he had said fucking his wife, I would have been happy. Whoa, Max, that's great.
All right.
But considering Inception is like inspired by this film, which I'm convinced it is, I think it would be great if they actually remade the movie.
Dreamscape?
Yeah,
I think so. Well, like I said, what I said earlier, before we actually really got into talking about Dreamscape, is that maybe with the success of Inception, it will now.
And also, I will point out at the end, David Patrick Kelly.
Still available.
No. But at the end of the movie, he starts pulling some Dream Warrior shit where he's like... He has knives come out of his fingers, first of all. Like, holy shit. Either somebody... Either they ripped it off of Freddy out of Wes Craven,
or the other way around.
But somebody, you can't tell me 3 months before Nightmare comes out, he does that shit in a dream with the knives in his fingers. That's not a fucking coincidence.
Yeah,
that's somebody ripping somebody off.
Yeah,
and then he pulls like the heart out in his hand. It's like, where have I seen this before? But he pulls like this Dream Warrior stuff. It's like, I'm in a dream. You can manipulate the dream. And he's like doing like neon ninja stuff, with, like glowing sticks, and like it's like Wes Craven. That really became the shtick of the series after like. In the third one, when it was the Dream Warriors.
Right.
You know, the first film, it wasn't really like that. So in some ways, it's like, it took Wes Craven a while to rip off Dreamscape as much as he did.
Okay.
I just want to know who ripped off who.
Because I would love to know that,
those fucking knives, like, oh no, come on. Immediately, I'm online. So, okay, when did Nightmare come out? It's like, same year.
Yeah.
Wait, what release dates? 3 years or...
3 months.
Yeah, 3 months. And then the guy on the audio commentary saying, I wrote it back in 81. It's like, okay, how many people read this screenplay was being bounced around?
Sure.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wes. You read a news article that no one can find.
All right.
Fuck you. Fuck Wes Craven.
Let's take a quick break.
Okay.
And when we come back, we will talk about Inception.
All right, wait, I'll be fair. I like The Hills Have Eyes, but
yeah, The Hills Have was good.
Yeah, but no, fuck that.
All right. When we come back, we'll talk about Inception.
Inception.